Let's welcome Jim Horn.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. Nice drive out here. I like getting out in the desert once in a while. I'm kind of like you all. I'd like to be a desert rat someday. I'm a veteran. Like she mentioned, I spent 25 years abroad. I worked in American embassies hither and yon. I kept annoying the brass, so I never got to go to London or Paris or Rome. I kept going to places in Africa and the Middle East, but that's all right. I had a wonderful career. I thrived throughout the whole career, and I had embassies are small microcosms. There are a lot of different jobs that you can do. Sometimes you wear 3 or 4 hats. You can't catch yourself in the hallway, but that's all right. I worked in the communications and cryptography. I worked in embassy security. I made embassies bomb-proof. They don't like me. They threatened to kill me before that. That's all right. I worked in counterterrorism. I've been successful. And I worked in counterintelligence. I enjoy studying and learning about cultures and to understand their people. I should have become a social anthropologist or something like that because it's been really interesting. We are a Christian, Judeo-Christian people. We have a golden rule that we follow, and we all understand what the golden rule is. I lived among Muslims for over a decade, and I know and I understand them much better than most. I didn't live in a compound. I lived in a house or an apartment, and I was, shoulder to shoulder with them in the streets and everything else. So I got to know them quite well. Islam does not have a golden rule. They have their own rule, and their rule is to screw over everybody else. All right? That's a fundamental thing we all need to understand. We have a different wiring diagram upstairs. They don't think the same way we do. They don't judge things the same way we do. They have a different way of doing these things. Islam is, of course, you've all heard about Sharia law. Sharia is all about control. Everybody who is a Muslim, if you are Islamic, Islam means submit. You are a slave to Allah. Of course, Allah is just a figment of Muhammad's imagination. They are all about abusing, controlling, and dominating non-Muslims. You're seeing it here with Yazidis and stuff like that in Iraq. I've been accused of hating Muslims. In my books, I've put out a section there where I talk about how I love Muslims. Muslims that don't kick dogs, beat their wives, shoot people on the street, cut soldiers' necks off with meat cleavers. But I love them, the ones that don't do that. Haven't met many. I retired to Southern California in 1993 to enjoy my family and to let them become Americans in America because my kids have been born and grown up overseas. That's what we did. I mean, it was just really nice to be able to come home and not have bars on the windows and worry about this and worry about that. It was pretty good. I was enjoying my life. I was working. I was doing different things. In 1998, I got sick. I had the antibiotic-resistant pneumonia. I spent 20 days in the hospital, part of it in a coma. They used an experimental drug on me that kills 20% of the people they use it on. I almost died, but I didn't. I'm here. Thank God. I was pretty sick when I was in the hospital. They delivered my last rites. That worked. I don't know what happened, but I'm over here. When I finished up, I was very weak. It took a long time to recover, and I was, we'd suffered. We lost our house, we lost my job, and things like that. And I was asking God, why did you let me come back? I had life insurance, would have fixed things up. His answer, it took time. And one day I was eating my Wheaties at the kitchen table, looking at the TV, and I saw I switched to channel 4, I think it was, and they showed a building burning, and Katie Couric was jabbering, and I saw another plane bank and slam into the other building. I was not shocked. I was not surprised. I was not dismayed. I knew exactly what it was, and I was immediately so damn mad I couldn't spit. It was just the way it was. That was my answer from God. I now speak about Islam. I know about Islam. I teach about Islam. I write about Islam. And the Islamists here in the United States don't like me. My picture's on a dartboard in every one of the mosques they have. There are Muslims who seek personal salvation. A very few of them. That is not my issue. 87% of the Quran, Sharia law, and Islamic teachings are about the hatred of non-Muslims. Islam is political, it is cultural, it is social, but it is very, very little religion. You are hated. Just because you live, you are hated. Part of Islam teaches that you were born a Muslim, but you became an apostate because your parents didn't raise you as Muslims. So therefore, as an apostate, you can die at any time because that's what the rule is for apostates. Muhammad created Islam nearly 1,400 years ago. After 13 years and garnering 150 followers or so in Mecca, he was at the point of being hung or tarred and feathered or whatever, so he snuck out of town in the dead of night. He ran away to Medina and went into hiding there for a while where the Jews protected him. And he tried the same thing in Medina that he was doing in Mecca, and the Jews said, "You're nuts. We're not going to. You're not a prophet. You're nothing else." So they turned against him. So he got mad and dejected and rejected. He sat around and thought about it for a while, and he realized that his business model of being the man of peace, being Christ-like, wasn't working. So he developed a new business model. You'll heard of business models. It worked, and it's here today. Muhammad became a jihadist, warlord, and a fascist politician. That's what he was. That's what Islam is. It's all about jihad. It's all about fascism. He declared permanent war on all infidels, all of you, everyone who is not Muslim. That was his dying wish, was that his followers kill and destroy until the whole world falls under the domination of Islam. His followers are still at work. They still believe it. A part of his new business model was terrorism. Is that a new word? It's a word that federal officials are not allowed to use in the same sentence with Islam. You can't call them Islamic terrorists. You can't call them Islamofascists. They are handcuffed. They are not allowed to know what they need to know. After he conquered one Jewish city, Muhammad, he hauled between 600 and 900 men out. He had boiling water poured down their throats, and then he cut their heads off. The Jewish females were raped, enslaved, and then sold wholesale. He needed money to raise his armies. This practice of torturing, beheading, enslaving, raping has been a part of the business model ever since. When the Turks seized Christian Constantinople in 1453, a 3-week orgy of beheadings of men, rapes, and enslavement of the women took place. Turks fought fiercely amongst themselves for the little boys. You know, you've heard about when Muslims die, they go to paradise and they have 72 virgins. Well, along with that, they get 28 prepubescent boys, so they get 100 when they go. You don't hear a lot about that, but that's part of it. The Turks were on a roll after they got Constantinople. So they took over the whole Islamic world. In time, the Islamic Empire of Turkey crumbled, but Islam is still here. After holding Spain for about 700 years, the Turks got kicked out in 1492. During their reign, of course, torture, beheadings, barbarity, enslaving was common. Millions of fair-skinned European women were kidnapped, enslaved, and sold in Africa. Over the 600 years the Turks or the Ottomans were in Spain. While in Spain, they attacked on into France, trying to expand their conquests. A fellow named Charles Martel whooped them. Hey, Charles. The Turks later attacked and were defeated at Vienna in 1529 and again in 1683. The 1683 defeat happened on a very momentous day, 9/11. That's very significant for them. They lost both times. In 1801, President Jefferson tried to get the Turks or the Ottomans or the Islamists on the North Shore of Africa to stop raiding American ships and enslaving Americans. They said, go to hell. He sent the Marines. They stopped. Marines are very useful. I love the Marines. The Turks sided with the Germans in World War I. And when the war ended in 1940, the Ottoman Empire, the huge Ottoman Empire, ended. It disintegrated. The Turks had lost again. The Balfour Declaration sliced and diced the Ottoman Empire and created places like Iraq, Jordan, and all these other places out of whatever they had there. Enraged with this, the humbled Turks turned on the Christian minorities when what was left of their empire. They went after the Armenians in particular, and well over 1 million Armenians suffered a common fate. Men were tortured and beheaded. The females were raped and enslaved along with children and sold. Thousands of the raped females who were unsold were stripped, tossed in piles, and lit on fire while they were still alive. And the Turks deny this. I've heard this from Armenians when I lived in Istanbul. I heard it confirmed by Turks who were there when it happened, older Turkish men. They told me about it. They were ashamed. They had enough sense to be civil and decent. But they confirmed that this has happened, but the Turkish government denies it, denies it, denies it. They are liars, 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 and that's very Islamic. In 1928, Hassan al-Banna established the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. It spread like a cancer throughout the world, and elements turned up in the USA in the 1940s. The Muslim Brotherhood of North America is the parent and controlling agency of every Islamic acronym we have. There's a whole alphabet of acronyms and initials called CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, MSA, the Muslim Students Association, ISNA, and it goes on and on and more on. They're all over the country, but they're all dominated and controlled by the Muslim Brotherhood of North America. They have infiltrated America. They have infiltrated our universities. They have infiltrated the seminaries where some of our pastors go to study and learn. They are there. They are brainwashing them. We have been warned. They are here. We have been warned. They've come out and they've said it. We're here to conquer you. We're not here to join you. We're not here to assimilate with you. We're here to take you over. And people just walk around and say, oh, I don't think so. We can talk them out of it. We have been warned. Al-Qaeda's number 2, Ayman al-Zawahiri, is Egyptian and Muslim brother, as was bin Laden. They're both Muslim Brotherhood types. Our attacking Afghanistan after 9/11 was correct but inadequate because they're still there killing people, killing Americans weekly. Attacking Iraq the way we did was unwise, but we did it. Now we have to deal with the consequences. In my book back there, Experiencing Islam, I explain why Iraq should have been cut into 3 different countries when we were there. It would have ended or would have precluded a lot of the strife that's taking place now. We didn't do it, so now we've got what we've got. For about 600 years, the Sunnis have ruled Iraq, or the area of Iraq. It was brutal. They are tribals. So you have the Sunnis and you have the Shia, who are another tribe in Iran and in Syria. After 600 years with the Shia in control, the Sunnis are catching it now. They've been catching it ever since we walked out of there. These people are vengeful. Revenge is their middle name. Iran is Shia. Part of Syria, the Syrian government, are Alawite, which are first cousins to the Shia. And the Iranian government is very involved with the Shia-led government in Iraq. Between the two of them, the Sunnis have really caught hell. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. After 9/11, the Muslim Brotherhood took advantage of George Bush, who was ignorant of Islam in America, as is or was every other political hack. Many of them remain willfully ignorant today. The Brotherhood even had contacts in the White House. And when Bush created the Department of Homeland Security, the Brotherhood moved in and put their people in high, important, and sensitive areas in all intelligence and law enforcement agencies, such as the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, and other places. When we went out to get translators to listen to Islamic radios and TV, the translators were all Muslim. They would not allow Jewish people who are fluent in Arabic. They would not allow Christians who are fluent in Arabic to have any of those jobs. It was only Muslims. The Muslim Brotherhood wound up controlling all of the intelligence flowing to the high officials in the government. That by controlling that intelligence, they controlled the outcome of so many events, and they're still doing it today. Those infiltrators have one job, and that's to protect the Muslim Brotherhood and control things in government. The FBI had a training course you may have heard about that was canceled a couple of years ago because the Muslims decided that was too effective in teaching FBI agents about Islam. So they took that program, they got John Guandolo fired, 900 pages of documents and materials that he used in his training have been scrubbed from all of the computers because they couldn't stand people learning about them. Let's get back to Iraq. When we were fighting in Iraq, our NATO ally, the Turks, would not let us use their airspace or our bases in Turkey in the war against Iraq. Russia was more helpful than Turkey. Now, as we face ISIS, it's the same deal with those treacherous Turks. I lived in Turkey, I know them. Obama walked away from Iraq a while ago saying, oh, everything's good. He was lying. Oh, it's sweet over there. We're done. That's going to be sweet, hunky-dory. Then came the Arab Spring, which Obama cheered. And the Muslim Brotherhood was the Arab Spring. They removed the Egyptian government and installed Morsi. That was a disaster. Morsi is out. Common sense people have come back a little bit. We helped the Brotherhood remove Gaddafi from Libya. Chaos still reigns in Libya. We all heard about Benghazi. I'll get to that in a minute. Brotherhood elements took over Tunisia, but failed in Morocco, Mali, and Algeria. The Brotherhood started up in Syria with lots of help from our treacherous NATO ally, the Turks. Why the hell is Turkey still in NATO? We have to get to our politicians. We have to get to everybody and say, these people are not worth it. We need to get rid of them because they are the enemy within. They are the cinquième chevalier. They are right at our backs. They are right at our throats. In the meantime, Al-Qaeda in Iraq and others have morphed into Al-Qaeda in the Levant, IS in the Levant, IS, and assuredly there will be another acronym soon. It's all the same. Obama called IS the junior varsity. The JV is emulating their main supporters, the men who provide the men and material, the Turks. And they are acting out as the Turks have done so many times with other victims. Remember? Cutting the throat, beheading. What has IS been doing to the Christians, to the Yazidis, to other Muslims in the area that they don't agree with? The same exact things that they learned from the Turks. Probably several thousand of their participants or of their members are Turks. The JV is going all out to become the varsity. Islam, don't forget Islam. No matter what the name is, it is Islam that is doing all this stuff. And there are tribes within Islam, as I mentioned earlier. The Syrian conflict involves the Sunnis and Alawites, two different tribes fighting against each other. Just like in Iraq, you've got the Alawites have been dominating the Sunnis for many years. Obama threatened to bomb the Syrians because they were using gas. Then he chickened out. Or did he? Let's go. After all, the Syrian government are Alawites, tribalists tied to Iran, Shia, as is Obama's chief advisor, Iranian-born Valerie Jarrett. She pulls his strings. Okay, he's got puppeteers. This guy doesn't have enough moxie to do a lot of things, but he's got puppeteers pulling his strings. Why would an anti-Semite like Obama be so soft on Iran with its nuclear program? They are threatened to kill us with nuclear weapons. Valerie Jarrett, she is one of them. Now with the Sunni Islamic State on a rampage in Iraq, Obama is developing a war plan to beat them up, to help the Shia tribals, the Iranians and the Syrians. These people are bent to destroy each other. They've been fighting each other for 1,300 of Islam's 1,400 years. We should back away and let them have at it. Okay? It's no wonder that the Sunni Turks won't let us use our air bases in Turkey to fly over their space to attack the Sunnis. Turkey is a Sunni tribe, okay? So they don't want to go after they don't want us to go after the Sunnis. They want to defend the Sunnis from us. Hundreds, if not thousands, of the Islamic IS are Turks, Sunnis. They're probably part of the leadership. The IS has tons of money provided by Sunni tribals in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Kuwait, and other countries. Now, question has come up. Something came up, and they talked about it for a couple of days, then the media dropped it again. What about the air forces of Egypt and the United Arab Emirates flying out over Libya and bombing the place? The CIA didn't know anything about it, and we're not learning anything about it. This is a failure of intelligence. Our spies are not spies. Again, in the book I have there, Experiencing Islam, I talk at length about how the CIA has become an abject failure in the area of gathering human intelligence. They can't do it. They're not allowed to do it, and they have made mistakes that preclude their being able to do it. They are really a goofed-up organization, and all they can do is listen to radio someplace and check our email. Benghazi. When I was in Sicily in the Navy, used to fly over to Libya on patrol craft at 140 miles an hour, and we'd be there in a couple, 2.5 hours. Sicily is not far from Benghazi. When Benghazi went down, we had F-A-18 fighters and F-16 fighters loaded with bombs, fueled, engines running, and ready to go on the tarmac at Sigonella. They could have taken off and at supersonic speed delivered their bombs in Benghazi in 20 minutes. They were not allowed to go. Okay? For U.S. forces to intervene in a foreign country, you have to have the approval of the president. Barack Obama would not approve that. That is essentially the stand-down order that abandoned those people to their deaths. Obama did it, and Hillary is complicit with him in it. What were we doing in Benghazi? Well, there were a lot of weaponry that we sent in there to help al-Qaeda take the crazy man, Gaddafi, out. There were a lot of weapons were left behind, and we were tasked, the CIA was tasked to go out there and round them up, bundle them up, turn them over to the Turks to ship through Turkey into Syria to support the moderates. The moderates are, what, Sunni tribesmen? Just like the IS Sunni tribesmen. So a lot of those weapons went to the IS. They talk about how the IS is so well armed. And we want to send more weapons to the moderates in Syria because they don't have any weapons. They've opened the warehouses and they've turned them over to the IS before. They'll do it again. And now Obama wants to, what the hell's going on there? The attack on our consulate in Benghazi was probably orchestrated by Shia, Syria and Iran, because we were sending weapons to the opposition in Syria. When they did that action, killed the ambassador and 3 other people in Benghazi and tore everything up, the weapons train stopped. So they were very effective. They were successful. But it's probably an Iranian operation. Obama and Clinton refused to help, like I mentioned before. They let those people die. And they let 4 people die. What does it matter, bellowed Hillary. She is complicit in the murder of those people. 3 operators have been on Fox News recently. They blew the whistle with a book 13 hours. But there are 25 other people that were there too. We haven't heard from them yet. I'm waiting for them to come out of the woodwork with their revelations. We've heard now about a diplomat who saw Hillary's staff in the basement of the State Department building shredding and destroying documents. That building, I've been there. That area, I've been there. It's where they shred stuff, then they mix it with chemicals, and it turns into a pulp soup that can be reused as paper again. They were there destroying those documents so they could prevent Hillary from probably going to jail. She should be in jail. I'd love to see her do the perp walk right out of the State Department building. Hillary is guilty of murder along with Obama. This is what we're dealing with. We have ISIS coming across the border. I saw a picture on the internet yesterday of some guy at a market in Houston wearing the ISIS uniform with the ISIS patch on his shoulder. They're right here now. They're planning all sorts of mayhem. They've been doing that for years. We don't have our border closed up because somebody high up in the Department of Homeland Security is making sure we don't close or secure our southern borders because Hamas, Hezbollah, and IS have offices in different cities along with Mexico. They bring their people in through different countries in South and Latin America. They teach them a little bit of Spanish. They dress them up so they look like Mexicans, and they come waltzing across the border with everybody else. They melt in the population. They're all over the country here, and they are not coming to church to smile. They're going to come to us to blow us up. One of the things, whenever you go into a building, whenever you go into a meeting room, if you see a box or a backpack in a corner that doesn't seem attached to anybody, think bomb, all right? Don't pick it up and shake it. Tie a string on it, get everybody out, and give the string a tug, see if it goes off. Or call your bomb disposal people. But watch out for that, because that is going to be one of the first things. That's what they did in Boston. A backpack with a bomb in it. That happens all the time, and we can expect that it's going to happen more because it's a successful way of killing people, of terrifying people, of keeping people like us from coming together in assemblies where we can help, learn, teach, educate one another, and do the same thing with other people. They can't stand that, so this is the type of a meeting they would target right here. They're not going to go after the World Trade Center anymore. They've done that, okay? They're going to try and do it here. They've got, well, they might go after the World Trade Center again. They got 13 planes that they picked up in Libya that have disappeared. Anyways, that pretty much covers it. I have a couple of marks on my face here. We have a small poodle, and a neighbor's large dog attacked my poodle yesterday. So I landed on the poodle pretty hard. The poodle spit my dog out. I mean, the dog spit my poodle out. Then the dog and I had a little session. I got 4 puncture marks here. But then the big dog decided to go home because he didn't like what was happening. But I've had my rabies shot, so the dog's all right. Anybody have any questions? Ma'am?
Well, what's a kafir? Is that different than an infidel, or is that like saying a bad word?
Kafir. Oh, kafir. Kafir is dirty, disgusting. So is an infidel, dirty, disgusting. We are equated to being like dogs or pigs. So we are subhuman. We are not human beings. Islam teaches that only Muslims are human. All non-Muslims are less than human. This is one of the rules of Islam. This is what is in their mind when they talk to you. They say, I am divinely superior to you, you filthy kafir. So they talk down to you. Don't ever let them talk down to you. You talk right back to them and you say, hey, you are in my country. I am an American in my country. In my country, you are the kafir. Watch their eyeballs go all wobbly. They can't stand being challenged. That scares them and it infuriates them. That's what you need to do. Make them be afraid of you. Don't you be afraid of them. Make them be afraid of you. Ladies have a harder time doing it than guys. But I'll tell you, if it's a little old lady with a walker and somebody's got a video camera and she's giving one of these guys hell, you got the video, you win. Okay? This is what we have to do with it. Bigger guys, we can maybe get a little more in their face, and they really, really don't like that. They're not accustomed to that. So that's what we are. But we have to learn to not. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to offend you. You know, they got these big care guys show up at City Hall when I'm working against the mosque in Temecula. And they're walking around like that, and I walk right up to them, and I just look right through them. And they have to walk around me. They don't like it, but that's what they have to deal with. They don't like me because you all may have heard about 5 years ago, there was a big brouhaha in Temecula about the mosque that hasn't been built yet. Yeah, They don't like me. There's a couple of other people's worked with it. They've still got a concrete slab, and they're doing a little puttering around out there, but we harassed them. We made the city establish all sorts of covenants and conditions on the construction, and they have not met most of them, so they have to back up and redo, and they're in violation here, and they're in violation there, and we keep after the city to keep after them. When they started on it, they had a big bulldozer out there. They were moving dirt, and I drove by and looked at it. I called a friend of mine who's a contractor. What's that bulldozer? He came back, he said, that's one that's illegal in California. EPA! First time I've ever liked and used the EPA. They red tagged that bulldozer the next day, and they shut down the operation. It was good. So sometimes some of that bad stuff comes out well.
That's not where you lived for 25 years.
No, I lived in Istanbul, I lived in Algeria, I lived in Bangladesh, I traveled and worked all over the Persian Gulf. But yeah, the Muslims are in Dearborn, they're in Detroit. That's why those two cities are so shabby now.
Saying ISIL, and I read about
It's the same thing. Islamic State in the Levant, Islamic State, the Caliphate, Islamic State in Syria. It's all Islam. It's all the same basic Islam. They're not separate groups. They're not fighting with each other. They just change names and they just move across the street back and forth, but it's the same group of people with the same motivation and the same goals and objectives.
Yeah, what about India? Are the Hindus converting to Islam?
The Hindus, when the Muslims spread eastward, they went to Afghanistan, which was Buddhist. They killed all of the Buddhists. They went into Pakistan, which has Hindus. They killed all of the Hindus. And they went into India. They ruled India for a long time. In their conquest of the Indian subcontinent, they killed between 50 and 70 million people.
So they're still enemies.
They don't get along. You've heard about the fights in Kashmir. This disputed territory between the Hindus and the Muslims. They fight and they kill each other up there all the time because they do not like each other. So we have a de facto ally with India. We need to exploit that. The same thing with China. China, everybody's saying, oh, the Chinese, terrible, terrible, terrible. The Chinese have Muslims on their eastern frontier they've been confronting for 1,000 years. And they've been having a lot of problems with them. They're having a lot of problems with them now. But they deal with them better than we do because the Muslims die very fast over there. We tolerate them, put them in jail, put them in Gitmo, turn them loose, catch and release. The Chinese don't catch and release. We have, and we're China's number one customer. They're not going to attack us. They're not going to destroy us because they'll all lose their jobs and go hungry. All right? China is another de facto ally. The Russians have been dealing with the Muslims on the southern frontier for 1,000 years. Okay? They know what they're doing. They know what they're being confronted with. One of the things I talk about in my book, Experiencing Islam, the Russians and the Chinese efforts for intelligence gathering in this country have gone up 400% in the last 10 years. There are more spies here now than we ever had during the Cold War. Why? Because we have a Muslim in the White House. His finger's over the red button. They don't intend to lose. So the nuclear clock is ticking. You got to watch for that. Yes, sir.
It just seems like Obama's put a Muslim in charge of every department he has.
Oh, almost. Yeah. We need to get them out. And I'm calling for maybe more drastic measures than an election. We can't wait 2 years.
If he's going to continue to do what he's doing, like you say, in 2 more years, there won't be nothing left of us. But how can we do it short of a coup to get him out of it?
I don't know. But he has fired a lot of good generals, and I'm waiting for the generals to get together.
And the other generals that went against him, he's kicked out.
All the good generals have been kicked out, but maybe they can get together. Maybe they're talking to each other someplace very quietly and thinking the same thing that we're thinking, that something has to be done to stop this guy quickly before he can do anything else. And God forbid, Hillary is just as bad. Because there's a lot to do with money. Obama got $300 to $400 million from Islamists for his election. So he's got all these people calling in their chips. Hey, we gave you this. Hey, Hillary's doing the same thing. Since Billy got out of office, he's been going over to those countries, collecting millions and millions of dollars in speakers' fees. They got a bankroll of $400 or $500 million, and you can rest assured if Hillary starts running for the election, she's going to get hundreds of millions of illegal dollars. And we don't do anything to stop it, especially with Obama in the White House and running the Treasury. They'll flood this country.
How about that soldier, the Muslim soldier in Texas that killed, 13 people?
Yeah.
Wasn't terror.
Major Hassan?
Yeah. That was workplace violence?
They call it workplace violence, yeah. Because,
So what's happening?
but that was even when Bush was president, they called it workplace violence because the Muslims and the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI and other agencies didn't want it to be called an act of terrorism, and they prevailed. You and I, we all know it was an act of terrorism, but officially it's not. So all those people who were killed, all those people who were wounded, no Purple Hearts, no recognition, they're lucky to get into a VA hospital for service, Obama, shortly after he was elected, he went to Cairo and made a speech to the Muslim people. He said, I am one of you. He has said it again and again and again, a slip of the tongue on ABC TV, my Muslim faith, okay? He is a Muslim, and his goal is the same as other Muslims, is to get Islam in control of us. He's got a lot of control over us now, okay? He is destroying our economy. People are out of jobs. They're going to the government for help. They're dependent, so they've got a noose around their neck. Vote for me or we're going to cut your food off. And these people are so ignorant because our schools have been dumbed down so much for so long that we have a lot of uphill traveling to do to prevail over this stuff. Fortunately, we got a lot of smart, talented, capable people who are going to get this done, because if we don't get it done, our children, our grandchildren are going to have their heads on the floor with their butts up in the air going, Wallahu Akbar. And they're going to be impoverished. They're going to be sick because wherever Islam prevails, you've got something like Karachi, poverty, Cairo, poverty. All those places are impoverished. They're suffering, they're misery. That's what Islam delivers to the people. It doesn't deliver anything good, decent, or wholesome. Ma'am.
Why don't the so-called moderate Muslims stand up against the radicals? Are they afraid?
There are no Muslim moderates. You've got the militant moderates, you've got the big mouth Muslims, the militant Muslims, and then you got the ones who sit back and they're kind of quiet and they're not getting out and speaking against the others. Number one, because they're afraid to. Number two, they may not get out there and get out in the face, but they're paying the money. They're supporting the bad guys. So there are no moderates. There are just different types of radicals. And they're all, again, one objective: destroy America, take control of us. Yeah.
I have a friend that told me last week, and of course I don't know how true this is, and I don't have a computer so I can't check this, but she was telling me that Home Depot and Starbucks are supporting ISIS. Do you know anything about that?
I've got a book back there, Islam in the Workplace, that talks about how Muslims have gone into businesses and they make demands. I'm a Muslim, I want special accommodation, I want special treatment. I want to be able to stop and drop and pray in the middle of the floor. I don't want to touch that bacon even though I'm a cashier. Because this is what they're trying to do, is to destroy our fabric. And these are the little things that they want to get away with. The book tells people, and every manager should get one, everybody who even works with them should get a copy of that book, because it tells how to deal with them. They say, oh, I got a prayer in the middle of the afternoon. Bull! The Quran says if you miss your prayers, you can make them up in the evening. When I was in Jeddah, they didn't knock off 3 times a day to pray at work. If they wanted to knock off to pray, they took leave time. Otherwise, they went home and made up their prayers at home. They did the same thing in other Muslim countries over there. It's probably changed, whatever, as ambassadors over there, letting them run the embassies the way they want. That's how we got 9/11. We didn't have American officers interviewing people and controlling the issuance of visas. We gave it to a contract to a local Saudi company called a travel agency. They didn't give a damn about who they gave a visa to. They sold a ticket. And we did it. Our own State Department did it. They are behind 9/11 as much as anybody else. Our own State Department. I was there. I know, I worked for the State Department. The lady that established that program It's one of the reasons I could never go to Paris, because she didn't like me because I wouldn't take her nonsense. Yes?
I think when Obama first went into office, there might have been a general feeling that his intention was for a one-world government. And we had the Federal Reserve and the Council of Foreign Relations and the Bilderbergs and the Club of Rome and all of that. And your assumption was that that's the direction that he was going to take us, to a one-world government. How does that fit in with the Muslim intention?
One world government under Islam, okay? You got these. We have these progressives and these liberals and these communists think, oh, well, we can handle Muslims, but we're going to take over the world and establish one world government. And the Muslims are standing behind them going, yeah, do it. We'll help you. We'll give you money. We'll give you this. Here's the knife. I'm waiting for you to turn around. I'm going to cut your throat. Okay? So the Bilderbergs and all of those people think they're going to do something. The Muslims are there to kill them when they at the right point, because those people are fools. They think they are so clever. They think they are so smart. They are their own worst enemies. They have to go look in a mirror. Yes, sir.
What's the chain of command for Embassy Marines?
Embassy Marines, you typically have a detachment of Marines, depending on the size of the embassy. You'll have an NCOIC, and you'll have 6 or 8 watchstanders.
Above them, who's giving them?
Okay, there are 3 regional Marine offices around the world, and there's a major and a E9 sergeant there, and maybe a couple of captains. So we have one in Manila, one in Frankfurt, and one in Bangkok. Regional Marine offices.
In Egypt, were the Embassy Marines in Cairo not allowed to have loaded weapons?
Because the ambassador has the ultimate authority, okay? Some ambassadors will say, load up, and they come down the hall, I want to see blood. Other ambassadors will say, oh, no, you can't do that. You might annoy somebody. And half the ambassadors are like that. They're absolute wussies. This is one of the problems we have. We take somebody and they come up to the ranks of the State Department, or they're a political appointment, and they're assigned to some country as an ambassador, and they get off the plane. They're supposed to represent the United States of America in those countries. Within 90 days, they're sending cables back to Washington. The government wants this. The president wants us to do that. And they're advocating for those foreigners in our government. Those guys are rotten. Secretary of State Schultz took an ambassador one time who was getting ready to go overseas, and he said, what's your country responsibility? The guy went over and reported someplace at the map, and Schultz said, see this place over here? It says United States of America. You represent the United States of America, not that banana republic, okay? So you're not going to go now. I'm going to get somebody else. That Schultz was a good Secretary of State. You know?
I like everything you've said tonight. Why are you in jail?
I don't know. I've annoyed a lot of them, but I am friendly to the police. I'm considered a subject matter expert with the San Bernardino and Riverside County Sheriff's Departments. I meet with them once a month. I've been called in on a couple of different cases, and I've helped them out. They've even referred me to the California Highway Patrol, and they've asked me some questions, and they got the answers that they needed. So I've got some friends in the right places. And I work hard to do that. Huh?
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. That's one of the things I talk about. I put that in the book. That the information I provide in this book may offend some people. You have the First Amendment right to not read it, or you have a First Amendment right to educate yourself. And this is one of the important things that we talk about in this country all the time. The First Amendment is one of the first targets of the Islamists. They want to shut that down. They've got activities with the Organization of Islamic Conference at the United Nations. 57 Muslim countries run the UN, and they're trying to tell us that we should not let people have freedom of speech if it's offensive to Muslims. We can say anything else we want against Christianity, against ourselves, but they don't want us to say anything against Muslims. They want to shut us down. So that's why I get out there.
They passed in the House today to arm the Free Syrian military.
Yeah.
So how is that going to affect the whole little thing going on there?
Well, we're going to give more arms to the Free Syrian Army, and they'll wind up in the hands of Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. That's why I say we should back off and just let them kill each other. We'll save a lot of money. We'll save a lot of American blood. They want to get more boots into Iraq again. We had 4,000 people died in Iraq for what? Yes, sir.
If you were president, what would be your actions in regard to what's happening in Syria and Iraq at this time?
I would call my ambassadors in and I'd say, you're here, I want you to go back. In 2 weeks, shut down the embassy, bring everybody out. We stop issuing visas, we stop issuing checks, we stop cashing Social Security checks. We go out of business in those countries, let them deal with their own stuff. And I would get my pen out, and a lot of these executive actions of Barack Obama would be canceled and rescinded immediately, and I'd probably have a stack like this to sign. You know.
What would you do as far as Islamic Caliphate being developed in that part of the world? Is that something that's acceptable to the United States, or should it be?
Well, they're calling it the Islamic Caliphate. It's an Islamic rule, but they've got that in half of Africa. They've got it all over the place. There's Islamic rules in their countries. The Caliphate is trying to be a government without borders. But they're just a bunch of despots.
Bring back the Ottoman Empire.
They want to bring back the Ottoman Empire. They want to bring back the sultanates. They want to bring back all that they had with that. We tell them, you stay here. Here's a line. And it's not going to be a red line. It's going to be chiseled into granite. And you cross that line, it's called a B-52. It's called carpet bombs. And if that don't work, we've got other ways of delivering weapons to you. And some of them will make you evaporate. And that's what we need to do. That's the only thing they understand is the cudgel.
But you think that they should have a homeland?
Well, they've already got it. There are 57 countries that have Islam in their government. And every place one of those countries, if you look on the globe, every one of those countries has bloodshed on their borders. They're going after others who are not Muslim. Seal those borders and start squeezing them back in. Stop giving them medicine. They've got this big boycott Israel thing. Well, who's invented half of the medicine we have in the world? Enforce the boycott. Stop sending them medicine. Enforce the boycott. Stop taking care of them. We have to do something drastic. We have to make them hurt. The only way it's going to make them hurt is to make them hurt, not just talk about it. We have to take action, and some of it is going to be harsh. Some of it's going to be unpleasant. That's what they have in store for us. Who's going to be first to do it? That's the question. We have to answer the question. It's not a question that I can go in front of the mirror and say I'm real happy with. Somebody might have a better solution, but nobody's come up with one yet. Sir, yeah.
What can we do?
I don't know.
How many more beheadings are we going to watch on television?
We're going to see a lot more. And some of the people in Islam are going to say, okay, we're getting too much bad press, so we got to stop taking these videos. We can keep killing them, but don't show anybody anymore. Okay? That's happening in Africa. It's happening all over the place, but they're not showing it. They're not letting it be seen. Do you realize that in the last 25 years, over 500,000 Christians in Indonesia have been killed? But you don't hear about it. They're our friends. Obama doesn't want the Indonesians. Yes, sir.
Is the Islamic State Shia or Sunni?
That's a Sunni group.
And so what happens to the Shia?
Well, this is where they've been fighting for 1,300 years, killing each other. And if the Islamic State establishes the caliphate, maybe they can go and kill all the Shia. They want to kill all the Alawites in Syria, and then all the Shia in southern Iraq that we're protecting. We're bombing the IS right now to protect the Shia in Iraq, in southern Iraq, around Baghdad, because the Shia are running in Baghdad now. Sunnis. We're bombing the Sunnis to protect the Shia. Valerie Jarrett is telling Obama what to do.
You want to know
Iran is Shia.
Shia.
Yeah.
So we're hearing from parents of Pastor Saeed that there's ISIS in jail threatening him as a Christian. So Iran is jailing the Sunnis.
Iran is Shia. They have pastor in there. They may have some Sunnis in the jail with him. He's a Christian, so he's way down on the pecking order. They're determined to make him suffer Until his spirit is so broken, he dies. That's what we're dealing with there. We have to pray for him. Yes?
Did you just tell, in your book, you talked about how the mosques are armories for weapons and how firemen should be aware of that when they go in?
Every mosque has a room called a rabat. It's often at the bottom of the minaret tower it's a phallic symbol showing that they have conquered this area. They're in control. They keep weapons, they keep explosives in there, they keep stuff like that. I don't know how many of them here in the United States have that, but I would bet most of them do. There was a fire at an Islamic center in Minneapolis about a year and a half ago. Some people died. There were some explosives, some bad news chemicals. That was a rabat. That was an armory within the mosque or the Islamic Center. And you're going to find that more and more. And I've been writing, I don't do it a lot, but periodically I get a few extra postage stamps, and I'll send letters off to fire departments in a given city and say, hey, if you have a fire in an Islamic Center, you better be prepared to deal with hazardous chemicals, with high explosives and other stuff, because this is what they do in the mosque. They do bomb building. They practice. They train. That's what the rabat is. That's what the armory is in a mosque. And they have them. So you can have in Temecula, they want to build this mosque next to a Baptist church. The mosque will have guns and bombs and bullets. Yes, sir.
Aren't they subject to fire inspection like every other business?
Not if they lock it behind a room and a fire inspector goes in, they say, no, you can't go in there. And these stupid firemen will say, okay. This is a mosque. I'm sorry, I don't have shoes on. I got to run away because these guys are bullying me. And they get away with it. Well, they've got Sharia law. They're superior to us. Yeah, American law doesn't mean anything. The Constitution is something that you want to walk on because Sharia law is more important. Okay.
I'd like to thank Jim for coming.
All right. Well, thank you all.
True to our name, being Watchmen, we want to be aware. We don't want to be afraid. We want to have the knowledge to know what we're dealing with. And that's why we invited Jim to come to tell us. So with that, in the meantime, I'll close with prayer. And dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for Jim, for his knowledge, and we're thankful for all the people who have turned out here tonight to learn and to be better followers of thee. And we pray that in Jesus' name, amen.
One last thing. On Friday, I'll be going off to